Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and I help freelancers grow their businesses. Today we're going to talk about money because it's okay to talk about money. Specifically, we're going to talk about how you can earn more as a freelancer. Before we dive in, I had a very quick announcement. I recently launched a totally new freebie called the Freelancers Toolkit. It's a guide that you can get on my website, which we also just launched, completely redid it, so I'm really excited about that. But anyhow, this is a free guide and I will put the link below so that you can go and grab that. All right, let's jump right in. So I'm going to give you, I think I've got 5 super concrete, actionable tips that you can take and copy so that you can increase your income as a freelancer. Tip number 1, focus on delivering results so that you can charge more. Here's what I mean by this. The trap that I see a lot of freelancers falling into is they focus mainly on churning out as much work as they possibly can because that means you're going to earn more money, right? Maybe, but the downside of this approach is that when you go in that direction, you really can't charge that much per assignment, per freelancing gig that you're taking, and you're going to burn out. Even if you don't think you will, you will. I promise. Learn from my mistakes. You can't keep up with that type of business forever. This is one of the pitfalls of marketplaces like Fiverr. Because freelancers on Fiverr typically charge so little, the only way that they can make up for that is with quantity. So their goal is to finish and churn out as much work as possible and move on to the next gig because that's how they make money. I have a couple of videos on this, by the way, so I will drop those links below. Anyhow, job boards and bidding sites, the goal becomes not quality, but quantity and doing as much work as possible. And that means that you can't really focus on delivering results. And here's the problem with this approach. Getting results is what pays. Here's an example. I'm a writer. My clients don't come to me because I'm going to churn out work as fast as I can. They come to me because they know that I can deliver results. They know that my content is going to drive traffic to their website and get more signups to their email list and improve their rankings in Google search results. That's why I can charge $300 and up for a blog post, whereas freelancers on Fiverr are charging $10. Is this a harder approach? Yeah, because you can't fake it. You can't fake results. You have to learn how to actually deliver results as opposed to just finish the work as quickly as possible. But when you do that, when you do learn how to deliver real results, your expertise as a freelancer goes from here to here, and so does your income. You can work less and earn more. Try to tell me that sounds awful. You can't, because it's amazing. Okay, let's keep going. Tip number 2, go where your competition isn't. I want you to think about something. You apply for a freelancing job on Upwork, along with 99 other freelancers. There are 100 of you total fighting for this one job. Not uncommon, and terrible odds, by the way. Let's say that the other 99 freelancers are asking for $10 for that gig, and you look at that and you're like, that makes no sense. So you ask for $100 for that gig, which is reasonable and maybe even low. Do you think you're going to be hired for that gig? Probably not. The client is going to look at the 100 freelancers who bid on that job, and the client's going to say, well, wait a minute, these 99 people said they would do it for $20 or less, and this one person's trying to charge me $100. That obviously doesn't make sense, so they're off the list. And you're out. This happens on job boards and bidding sites all the time. If you want to increase your freelancing salary, you have to go where all of your competition isn't. And if you do that, they are no longer your competition. Picture it like this. My Revenue Spark students and I overwhelmingly use LinkedIn to connect with our leads, meaning potential clients. If you're curious about this process, I have a few videos on it, so I will leave those links below. So we connect with our leads, we send them direct messages, and then we start the conversation about possibly working together. The competition among freelancers in their inboxes on LinkedIn is a tiny fraction of the competition that you're going to run into on job boards and bidding sites. This means 2 things. Number 1, it's going to be way easier for you to get noticed on LinkedIn. And number 2, it's going to be easier for you to get paid what you want to get paid because you're not going to be compared to all of these other freelancers who are willing to work for dirt cheap. That's why this is my process. I don't worry about my competition. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really have much competition. That's why I can charge so much. Tip number 3, go after bigger companies. Here's a huge mistake I made, huge mistake, when I was first growing my business. So years ago, first of all, for context, my niche is health and wellness. So when I was first starting to more aggressively pursue potential clients, I started targeting CrossFit gyms. And my reasoning for that is that there are so many all across the globe. Here's the problem that I didn't immediately realize. CrossFit gyms are very small businesses. They have very few employees, sometimes only the owner, and their revenue is not all of them. Some of them are doing very well. Others, not so much. And there's a pattern. Many of them are not earning the money that they want to be. At least that's how it was at the time. I can't speak of it today because I no longer pitch CrossFit gyms. Anywho, taking all of that into consideration, do you think any of these gyms were going to pay me $1,000 and up each month to manage their blog content? No. So I stopped going after them. It didn't make sense, not for the services that I was offering. You typically want to avoid super small companies because usually, not always, but usually a very small company is going to have a very small or non-existent budget for freelancers. Here's a quick little trick that I teach my students in Revenue Spark. You want to go on LinkedIn, search your niche, filter it by companies, and then start playing around with the filters for the number of employees. Test out these different ranges because you will very likely find that you gain more traction with some compared to others. Over time, the more potential clients you talk to, you're going to notice that some are very price sensitive and others aren't. You want to avoid those guys and go after these guys. Years ago, I had a client who I charged a flat monthly rate. It was the same number every single month. And yet, every single month without fail, as soon as I sent my invoice, I learned to expect it. As soon as I sent the invoice, he would call me up and he would start dissecting the invoice and questioning all of it and trying to nickel and dime me on everything. And I'd be like, I do the same work for you every single month for the exact same price. How is there still confusion? I stopped working with that client. I couldn't deal with it anymore. You don't want to work with people who are going to be really price sensitive, okay? So that's why you want to go for the clients who don't argue about rates as much. Negotiating is okay. I have a video on that. The link is below. Negotiating is fine, but there's a difference between that and the client I just mentioned. When you start to notice patterns of red flags, run. Do not walk in the opposite direction. Tip number 4, go narrow and deep, not wide, which sounds incredibly inappropriate, so let me explain. I've talked about picking a niche a million times. Here's one video on it. That link is below. Freelancers are understandably nervous to do this because they think that it's going to limit their opportunities. But I want you to write this down and internalize it. Experts make more money than generalists. I will die on this hill. The more specific and specialized your knowledge is, the more in demand you're going to be, the less competition you're going to have, and the more you can charge. And you can pick a broad niche. Remember, I said that mine is health and wellness, which is very broad. It's worked very well for me. Furthermore, even if you do pick a very broad niche, you can test different sub-niches within it because you're going to find that some are more lucrative than others. And that's exactly what I've done and what I continue to do. For example, one sub-niche within health and wellness that is not lucrative, CrossFit gyms. One that is very lucrative, supplements. I write about supplements every single month. I could usually do it in my sleep if I wanted to, just because I've done it so many times, and the pay is... So I have sub-niches within health and wellness that I know are lucrative, so I really rely on them, and I'm always exploring new ones as well. Some of those I cross off my list because I find that I don't have much success with them, and others end up being really great, like cannabis. I've had a lot of success writing about cannabis. But you have to narrow it down somehow. You don't want to work with everybody, okay? Everybody isn't your ideal client. And if you know that there are types of clients out there that aren't going to be a good fit for you, why waste your time chasing them down? Tip number 5, be a business owner, not an employee. This is partly a psychological thing, but it still plays a huge role in your freelancer salary, so listen up. A lot of freelancers forget that they are actually business owners, so they instead act like employees. And when they're approaching potential clients, they talk to them like they're applying for a job. Understandably, that's how their clients end up treating them, which is not good. A lot of this comes down to your wording and the tone that you speak in. This is one of the reasons why I do pretend sales calls with all of my students in RevenueSpark. I want to hear exactly how they're saying what they say so that we can ensure that they're carrying themselves like business owners and not employees. Let's do a few quick examples so that we can better illustrate this. Instead of saying something like, "Are you looking to hire any freelancers?" you want to say something like, "I work with brands to help them X, Y, and Z. Are you open to discussing this more?" Instead of saying, "What do you pay your freelancers?" you want to say something like, "These are my rates and I'm always open to discussing them." You tell your clients what you charge as opposed to just accepting whatever's handed to you. Another example, if a client asks to see your resume, you do not give it to them because business owners don't hand out resumes. Employees do. Instead, you can say something like, "I'm happy to share samples of my work. Here's my portfolio." If you don't have a portfolio, go watch this video. There's this stereotype that freelancers are broke. And what kills me is that there is some truth to it. A lot of freelancers aren't making the money that they want to be making. But that's not because that's the way it has to be. Freelancers can earn a very nice salary, even in a recession, which I talk about in this video. The main problem from what I can tell is that because freelancers don't fully understand that they're business owners, they think they're at the mercy of their clients. They think that the only money they can potentially earn is from the types of gigs that they're seeing on job boards and bidding sites, which is not the case. There are so many opportunities out there, but you have to go out and get them, okay? They're not going to fall into your lap. The great news is that if you are willing to put in a little more elbow grease, your earning potential is going to go way up. There's more good news. You don't have to figure all of this out on your own, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I already figured all of it out. I've spent over 10 years figuring out how to land clients, and that's exactly what I teach in my program, RevenueSpark. You get the entire start to finish process, beginning with mindset and mentality and sourcing leads, all the way to how to send your client their proposal. If you think you might be interested in enrolling, I'm dropping a few links below where you can learn more about the program, check out a few testimonials, and if you want to move forward and have a discussion about it, you can book a call with me. And don't forget that I have a LinkedIn group specifically for freelancers where you can get extra support and guidance from me, so I will also drop that link below. If you're still here, it means you found this video helpful, and I would be very grateful if you could support my channel by giving this a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you never miss my new content. And I'll see you next time.